Not because I was angry with them, not because I hated them, but because I wanted to keep them with me.
I don't want to ever see my mother have to go through this again. Never, Jeffrey! Jeffrey! I hate you, mother!
That's what I deserve. I deserve death.
With the new Jeffrey Dahmer Netflix series starring Evan Peters, people have come out to say how inaccurate it has been, so I thought we should go through the top 10 lies the Netflix show told about Jeffrey Dahmer. I'm your host Michaela, and make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you know every time we upload a new video. But without further ado, let's get started. Starting off this countdown at number 10, Jeffrey's neighbor. Annie Schwartz, who was working as a crime reporter for the Milwaukee Journal in 1991, was one of the first people to arrive at the Oxford apartments where Dahmer committed most of his crimes. She had received a call from a police source saying they had found human remains inside an apartment. Once there, she recalled watching the police figure out the magnitude of Dahmer's crimes after discovering Polaroids of his victims. When people are watching Ryan Murphy's Netflix series and saying, "Oh my god, this is terrible," I want to tell them it didn't necessarily turn out that way, she told the publication. One of the inaccuracies Schwartz couldn't get past with Dahmer is Glenda Cleveland's role as Dahmer's direct next-door neighbor. In the show, Glenda is seen making several attempts to alert the police to Dahmer's murders while living next door to him. In the first 5 minutes of the episode, you have Glenda Cleveland knocking on his door. None of that ever happened, she said. I had trouble with buy-in because I knew that was not accurate, but people are not watching it in that way. They're watching it for entertainment, she continued. Schwartz noted that in real life, Glenda Cleveland lived, quote, in a separate building at the Oxford apartments. She in fact never actually met Dahmer personally. Number 9, Dahmer fed sandwiches to his neighbor. Pamela Bass is the one who actually lived next door to Dahmer as opposed to Glenda in the series. She was relatively fond of him and didn't have many suspicions about what he was doing. She was however not included in the Netflix series. After Dahmer's arrest, Bass went on to record confirming that Dahmer was friendly and sharing. She even confirmed that he had fed her a sandwich every so often. Once the brutal nature of Dahmer's crimes were confirmed, Bass expressed her fear that they may have contained human flesh. "I have probably eaten someone's body parts," she said in the Jeffrey Dahmer Files movie on Prime Video, which came out in 2013. Number 8, Dahmer did not wear glasses during his trial. Jeffrey Dahmer in fact did not wear the trademark aviator glasses he became recognized for during his trial. During an interview with Inside Edition, Dahmer said, quote, "I felt uncomfortable looking anyone in the face. I didn't want to see anyone's face clearly. It helped me dissociate myself from what was happening." Well, then maybe you shouldn't have committed those crimes, like... And as you can see in the trailer for the show, there's a short clip of him in court with his glasses on. Number 7, LGBTQ+ tag. So as most people know now, the show on Netflix was giving an LGBTQ+ tag along with ones like #crime, #truestory, and so on. People got very mad because as maybe it is LGBTQ+, it's not LGBTQ+ friendly. I mean, the show is about non-straight colored men being torn apart and eaten. If I need to stay in my lane, absolutely tell me, but anyone else think it's pretty gross of at Netflix to list Dahmer under #LGBTQ, especially when the true crime tag would have worked? Someone had tweeted when the series first premiered. For those of you who love LGBTQ+ shows and know what the show Heartstopper is, just to put it into perspective, the two shows were in the same category. And for anyone who doesn't watch the show Heartstopper, I'll give you the description Google gave me. Charlie Spring, played by Joe Locke, a gay schoolboy who falls in love with classmate Nick Nelson, played by Kit Connor, whom he sits next to in his new form. But yeah, anyway, my point is they shouldn't be under the category, and I think Netflix was kind of trying to stretch a lie just to get the Jeffrey Dahmer series more views. Like, what if a child clicked on it thinking it was a nice sweet show like Heartstopper and found something like the Dahmer series? Number 6, how Ronald Flowers survived. A survivor of Dahmer's crimes was Ronald Flowers, who met Jeffrey when his car broke down one night. Jeffrey offered to help and took him to his grandmother's home and spiked coffee that Dahmer offered to him. Jeffrey got interrupted when his grandma saw that something wasn't right with Ronald. Like in the series, he later woke up in the hospital because Jeffrey's grandma made sure he got on a bus the next morning. But what's not mentioned is that he's also covered in marks and believed he might have been attacked. Ronald later testified that he didn't know how he got there and couldn't remember anything that happened. However, the Netflix series provides a fake reason. Halfway at number 5, racism and homophobia. Schwartz, who I mentioned at number 10, also went on to add that she believes the depiction of the officers as racist and homophobic was incorrect in the series. Others, however, would disagree with her comments. However, I first want to state that I don't believe her statement. I think a reason why he got away with the crimes for as long as he did was mostly because the people were people of color, but that is something she said, so I thought I'll add it in anyway. She said, quote, "I've spent a lot of time with them, interviewing disturbing the people who were at the scene. Again, this is a dramatization, but at a time when it was not exactly easy for law enforcement to get trust and buy-in from the community. It's not very helpful representation. As in the series, civil rights activist Jesse Jackson came to Milwaukee and set out to determine whether discrimination or racism ever played a role in the Dahmer investigation, and the double standard that the local police held for black and white citizens. In real life, Associated Press reported that the real Jackson stated that police at the local, state, and national level should be scrutinized for racism. The AP News report also notes that the police recordings indicated the officers laughed and joked about needing to shower after leaving Konarak and Dahmer behind at the apartment. Number 4, police officers did not receive Officer of the Year. Officers John Balserzak and Joseph Gabaresh received an Officer of the Year commendation in episode 9 of the limited series. However, that never happened in real life. Both officers, who were in fact suspended after Dahmer's arrest, were reinstated in 1994, but they were never recognized as Officer of the Year. Balserzak eventually became the president of the Milwaukee Police Officers Union, but that's it. Number 3, Glenda Cleveland wasn't really with her daughter and niece. The story of the 2 police officers who were called to the scene when Jeffrey's 14-year-old victim managed to escape was true, although Glenda Cleveland, or Pamela Bass, was never physically present at the time, but in the show she was. In real life, it was only her daughter and niece who were talking to the officers. The pair called the police when they noticed he appeared drugged and was bleeding and in pain. The rest of the story, however, played out similarly to how it was shown, with the police officers believing Dahmer's story and sending the young boy back to the apartment with him. However, Glenda Cleveland did call the police to make sure the boy was okay. Number 2, Dahmer did not drink bags of blood. Episode 4 of the Netflix series followed Jeffrey Dahmer after he got a job as a phlebotomist at the Milwaukee Blood Plasma Center. They take samples of blood for testing. The blood samples may be needed to learn more about a particular patient, or they may be used in research. They also collect blood from donors for those in need of blood transfusions. Most blood is taken from veins, but they must also learn how to draw blood from capillaries. They use capillary sampling when a small amount of blood is needed. It comes from the finger, heel, or earlobe. They also sometimes handle other types of specimens, such as urine, sputum, stool, and hair. In a disturbing twist, he brought home a bag of blood to drink. According to Dahmer's reports to police officials, in real life, he tried to drink a vial of blood on the roof of the center, but he wound up spitting it out. Now coming in at number 1, Jeffrey's apartment. Another inaccuracy that Shorts pointed out in the show was a way in which the smell emitting from Dahmer's apartment was described. I was a crime reporter for 5 years, so I know what it smells like when you walk into a building with a dead body or a decomposing body, Schwartz said, recounting the moment she stepped into Dahmer's real apartment building as a reporter back in 1991. That was not that. This was a very chemically smell. In the series, Dahmer, played by Evan Peters, explains countless times that the bad smell that people often complained about was due to bad meat, because his freezer had broken. It's implied that the unbearable smell was due to the decomposing bodies of the victims in his apartment, but as stated, it never smelled like that. It was just something added in the show for dramatization. And that was the top 10 lies the Netflix show told about Jeffrey Dahmer. Let us know what you thought about this video in the comments below, and I will see you next time.